Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Kristina Driscoll. Get ready to continue the journey through a tapestry of emotions, where happiness contrasts with moments of great sadness. I kind of want listeners to hear about the time that you had no idea what you're doing. I guess that would be the beginning of your podcasting journey. And how did you overcome it?
Yeah. So great question, Jeannie. So do something. So that could be join the Rotary, literally, join the commerce, chamber of commerce in your town, because, go somewhere where you meet people. That's one thing. Or sign up for a class like I did, online or in person. Take some kind of action. What happened to me is I thought I was going to do a podcast on helping caregivers because I felt very isolated and alone and unsupported when I was a caregiver for 12 years. And I will admit a lot of that was my own fault. I didn't ask for help enough. I didn't. And I know that, people need support with even asking for help in that situation. But when I sat down and started crafting, my business plan of doing a podcast on caregiving, it felt very, very heavy. And I realized that it was going to make me live continually in my past, talking about that era of my life. And it didn't feel very good. So I thought, I know this is really needed out there, but I don't think I can't do it. I can't do it. It's not going to serve me. I'm not going to be happy. So a lot of coaches and a lot of courses have you do this as this is a very common exercise. If you haven't heard of it, you should do it if you're really stuck. You get a hold of 5 people who you're very comfortable with. Could be family members, could be friends, could be acquaintances, but somebody who you trust their opinions and who they know you really, they know you well. And it's kind of scary. It was hard to do, but you either do it over the phone or have coffee and you point blank ask them, how do you see me? What are my strengths? What value do I add to the world? Like who am I? How do you see me? And the same answer kept coming back to me, Jeannie, over and over. Every single person said, you're really brave, you're really resilient, and you're really authentic. You're not afraid to live your life on your own terms, even if it means making, unconventional decisions. You're unapologetic about who you are. And it's really powerful. You're a great example. And so through that, I was like, okay, I need to do a podcast on teaching other women how to be brave enough to live an authentic life. So that's how She's Brave was
And the
born.
rest is history.
Yep.
Christine, if money is not an option, what would you do every day?
What I'm doing right now.
Awesome.
I am 100% living my best life. I absolutely love to travel. So I always budget money in for travel, even if it means staying in 1 and 2-star hotels. Sometimes I went on a 3-week trip to Portugal and Spain with a girlfriend. It was a COVID credit actually that got canceled. And we were like, look, we can do the budget tour and go to both Spain and Portugal. So my Facebook pictures look like this very glamorous tour of all these amazing places, but our hotels were not the best. But that was okay.
Oops.
You just sleep in a bed. You just sleep in the bed at night. It's no big deal. So I like to travel and I like to help people. And I love podcasting. My husband, even this morning, he's like, the second you're done with all your morning routine, you are like at it. He's like, I cannot even believe how much you love this. And, yeah, I am 100% living my best life. Like, this is it. I love it.
Yeah, congrats. I can speak on that. Like, so last night I wasn't feeling very well, but today I'm doing great because it's giving me that light. It's giving me that I guess excitement, adrenaline. I'm like, can you tell that I wasn't feeling good last night? Most likely not, because I'm happy. I'm happy having the conversation. I'm just thrilled to bring the best of what you and I had experienced so other people can have shortcuts to their dreams and just living their best life. That's the most important thing in to me. I always ask people, what is your definition of success? And I will answer that question myself first, and then I'll let you answer it. To me, it's living that best life, waking up with the excitement and knowing that whatever you do every day, you don't have to do it, but you do it because you love to do it. And that is my definition of success. Everything else, you'll have ups and you'll have downs. You'll feel sad. You'll have some challenges. But at the end of the day, having the experiences, having new experiences and living your best life, that's my definition of success. How about you?
My definition of success is living authentically, because with social media, we are told what the definition of success is supposed to look like. That doesn't mean that it's necessarily our personal definition of success. So, by taking the time to slow down and figure out who you are and making decisions solely based on what's best for you, being 100% real with people and true and authentic about who you are, then you're free. And when you're free, you're living your best life.
Christina,
Christina,
how do
how do
people
people
figure out
figure
who
out
they
who they
are?
are?
What should
What
they
should they
do?
do?
Oh, such a good question. I don't think it happens overnight. I think it happens by reading books, self-help books. Therapy can help. If you're religious, church or synagogue or mosque or whatever, like trying to find your spiritual path, just getting and spending more downtime. Like for me, I love to hike in the woods because I live out in the country and
Mm-hmm.
there's lots of hiking paths where I can go with my dog. So finding that place where you can your mind can just open up, and the meditation, even a little bit, allows your mind to just open up, and then the things you need to slow down, spend some time with yourself, and it's a process that doesn't happen quickly. You gradually get to know yourself better, and don't beat yourself up. Just take it at your own pace.
That's very well said. Take it at your own pace, because you don't compete with anybody. You have your own journey, and figure out who you are and truly living your true purpose and passion is so important. And if you don't take time for yourself, take time out of your busy life and busy schedule and spend time to figuring it out, you might come to the end of your journey and still don't know who you are. And then that's when the regrets are coming. We don't want to come to the end of our journey and feel regret. What if I tried this? What if I did that? Take your time figuring out that.
I mean, that's actually one of the biggest regrets of the dying is, there's whole books on it, people that are hospice nurses and doctors. And one of the biggest regrets of the dying is, I wish I lived life more on my own terms. That's one of them. I wish I wouldn't have, just like lived it for other people and worrying about what they think.
Figure out who you are. So important. Kristina, your top couple of tools for collaboration, since you're an expert.
Oh, top couple of tools for collaboration. Yeah. So every time you meet somebody, know that they know a lot of other people. If you like them, if you gel with them, then most likely they know at least one or two other people who are a good fit for you to collaborate with. So that's like a really big collaboration key. So if you have an interview and you didn't like the person, you couldn't really relate to them, they're on a different page than you are, don't collaborate with them because it's too different. But yeah, collaborate with those that fit well with you. And don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to ask, period, anybody for anything, because if you don't ask, you're not going to get anything. If you ask, you might get a yes.
You don't know until you ask. What if your answer is yes, but you're afraid to ask? Just think about that, right?
And here's one other really big key to collaboration. If you are afraid of rejection, reach out. Don't just like put all your eggs in one basket. Like if you're looking for people to come on your podcast, for example, reach out to 5 or 10 people. Just shoot them an email and make it personalized. Someone that you really truly do admire. That's who I find will say yes, is somebody that I truly do admire this person. And I have a personal story where I'm like, I heard about this that you did, or you impacted me in this way, then they're going to say yes. But if you reach out to about 10 people, you're going to forget half of the ones that you reached out to. Some of them are going to get back to you and some of them aren't. And you're going to forget who you even reached out to. So it's not going to matter. If you reach out to one person, then you're just like literally hanging on, with your just like waiting for that email, that phone call from that one person you reached out to. Why not reach out to a bunch of them and then just see what happens, see where the cards fall.
So who was your most unexpected yes, since we're on the subject?
Oh, wow. Such a great.
So you said, not in a million years she will say yes to me, but she did anyways, and that was the most amazing interview you ever done.
I have many interviews that are like my most favorites. I have a bunch, but I think
The most
I think
unexpected,
the
yes.
one that maybe I was the most surprised about was a best-selling author who wrote a book called Funny Farm. And she's the same age as me exactly. And she runs an animal rescue, but it's about her childhood. It's a really rough childhood. And it's just basically her whole life story. And she's a big name now. And I just reached out to her and I thought she's not going to get back to me. And then she's just like writes back and goes, yeah, like when can we schedule it? Like just like that, like, okay.
So you don't know until you ask, huh?
Yeah. I mean, I've had other ones too like that. Like I love this one product. It's called Beam Minerals, and BEAM Minerals. And it's this woman who had these serious health issues her whole life, like spent $75,000 trying to, you know, cure her chronic ills. No doctor could help her. And finally, she stumbled on a doctor who was really into minerals. And the problem with a lot of our basic minerals in today's world is that they're not very absorbable. So sometimes like you could take a magnesium pill and you don't absorb any of it. Like, so it's just like doesn't work, And so she kind of like started studying this whole thing about, not just taking minerals, but take like how to get them to absorb, and then also like micronutrients and, ancient minerals, like things that are that the cavemen, our ancestors, would naturally get from just foraging in the forest and eating some dirt, and she just did all this research and developed some of these mineral products. And I'd heard her interviewed on Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Radio. He's super famous.
Right.
And I was gobsmacked by her, and I just thought, I'll never get to talk to her. And I do take her products. I don't have allergies anymore. Allergies can be from mineral deficiencies. And if, again, so it's just, so I, same thing. I reached out to her. I sent her an email and I just said, I do use your products. I heard you on Dave Asprey's, podcast, and she's the CEO, founder, blah, 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 bigwig. Literally within a day, she just writes me back and goes, yeah, when can we get it scheduled? Just like that. And I was just like gobsmacked. Yeah.
So what did you learn? The biggest top things that you learned from interviewing all those strong, creative, powerful women? What do you feel like there's underlying themes of what they do? Their trait characters?
Sure. I'll tell you what the biggest thing is. They don't give up. So
no way, really?
I mean, it's just, you have to realize that you're going to have bad days, bad weeks, even bad months. You could have a whole month or even 2 months of a downtime, and you barely are getting through the day, and you're barely getting through your interviews, and but you keep going, because that's what I had to do. I had to do it for 2 months when I was going through some stuff with my son, and it was rough. And I just said, I'm not quitting. But I had learned from these women that they didn't give up. So like, for example, Carolyn Allen, CEO of Beam Minerals, spent $75,000 going on doctors trying to get help with her chronic health issues.
Wow.
Nobody could help her. She didn't give up, and she finally found a solution. And then, most people would stop there. They'd just say, well, I found my solution, like, I'm good. But she was just strongly compelled to create a whole company and help people around the world to get to feel as good as she feels. So she didn't give up. Another great example is her name. Oh, I just interviewed her a couple of weeks ago. She is Lydia. I'm forgetting her last name. Amazing woman. Let me just tell you the beginning of her story. Okay, let me just tell you, Lydia has raised $1 billion for charity being an auctioneer. Okay. She worked for Christie's. Christie's sells like the Picassos. They're an auction house in New York City. They're the best one in the world. She was a nobody. She was in college in Louisiana. She heard about Christie. She said, it would be cool to be an auctioneer. She called them up in December and said, I want to intern there this summer at Christie's. They said, nope, we already filled all the positions. We have 30 positions. They're filled. That's it. So she calls back the next day. She says, okay, why do you only have 30 positions? Like, do you have room for just one more? Well, no, we don't, because when we go out to these auctions, we can only have 15 interns at a time. So we have 2 groups of 15. We don't have room for that extra person. She thought outside of the box. She was persistent. She didn't give up. She said, how about I don't go on any of the field trips. I just work in the office. I do whatever you need me to do. I do copies. I do all the administrative stuff. I do whatever you tell me to do. Just let me come in and work. She called every day for a week. And at the end of the week, they broke down and they said, fine, you can come work as an intern at Christie's this next summer. Well, guess what happened? She shows up. Most of these interns that worked at Christie's were kids of employees that worked at Christie's, or they were kids from Ivy League schools, or they were people from prominent families. And these kids were lazy, a lot of them. They wouldn't even show up for work half the time. They wouldn't even show up. And guess what? When they didn't show up, she got to go. So all of a sudden there's 14 or 13 people going out to the auction that day, and there's room for her. She didn't miss anything. She literally had the whole experience the whole summer. Then she did it all through college. Long story short, she was like, when she became an auctioneer in her 20s, she was in 1% of women were auctioneers. She pioneered a whole new way of doing auctions, of doing charity auctions. And literally everyone in Christie's had to train under her. She started her own auction company. And she's an incredible human being. She is beyond belief.
Mm.
And that is a story of somebody having persistence, because 9 out of 10 people would have just called up Christy, said, I'd like to apply for an internship. No, they're already filled. Okay, then they give up. And what I've really learned with people that are really successful is that they don't give up and they think outside the box. Like, so she did. She's like, why is there only 30 people? Well, guess what? I don't have to. I'll just work in the office. Work around it. Think outside of the box. Don't just think like everybody else thinks. I have learned so much from these women.
Mm. That's amazing. Think outside the box.
Yeah, Lydia Fennett, that's her name. She's gonna be aired second Tuesday in December. You do not want to miss it. You don't want to miss it.
Kristina, I know we talked about earlier, you said you had helped a couple, your friend or a client, to overcome when they feel stuck. What was the biggest takeaway from there? How did you help them overcome being stuck?
Yeah. So I had a client who's also, I consider, a friend, and she is a very successful painter, and she does really, really well. And she had a very influential gallery in Miami who was having a special show, and they wanted her to create a piece for this gallery event that's happening like next week. And she got about 2/3 through the painting, and then she got stuck. Like, she was literally paralyzed. Like, she had this deadline. She had to get it done by a certain day, and she just couldn't get herself inspired to paint. And
Do you know why?
I think that it had to do with perfectionism. So perfectionism is always hiding around the corner for all of us, and it's very sneaky. So I started asking her questions, and I just said, let's talk about this a little more. I said, let's talk about this. I said, I think you're having some perfectionism issues. And I said, how about you just go ahead and just start painting? Even if it's not, up to your standard, it's mediocre, or you think it's awful. Okay. You think it's really bad, but you're just going to paint and get it done. You're going to do it messy. It's not going to be perfect. And you're going to send it off to Miami. Let's talk about what's the worst thing that can happen. Oh, our art gallery gets it. She says, this is terrible. I can't put this up on the wall. And then she sends it back to you. And that's it. Like, that's that, or she might say, this is terrible, but you know what? Next time, I have an opening, it sounds like you just had a rough week. Like, send me another one next time I have an event. So that could be another possibility. Third possibility could be, wow, I love it. Even though the artist herself doesn't love it. Art is so freaking subjective, right? Like, one person loves it, one person hates it.
Sure.
So I said, just go for it. Just do it. Like, what does it matter? What do you have to lose? Nothing. Like, so I told her, I want you to just get it. Just do it. And the worst thing that's going to happen is it's not going to, I did even ask her too. Like, I said, hey, don't you have another painting you can send her? She's like, no. She's like, no, they're all sold. I'm like, that's successful. Like, literally. She's like, I don't have any. Like, they're all sold. Like,
that's a good problem to have.
But I literally convinced her. I said, it doesn't matter, whether this woman rejects your submission or not. And even if you think it's terrible, you need to just start painting. Just do it. Just do it. And so we were chatting, and all of a sudden she says, I gotta go. I gotta start painting. And so I said, okay, all right. So we hang up. And then like 2 days later, I get a photograph, and she's like, I did it. It's going in the mail today, and I'm flying down to Miami next week. And It's phenomenal.
I'm sure it is.
So when you're feeling stuck, it's usually because you're trying to be a perfectionist, and then it's like all or nothing. I have to do this perfectly or not at all. And that is not true. Done is better than perfect every time.
Yeah. How do you put yourself out there without any fear? Like a lot of people.
You put yourself out there with the fear. The fear is always with you. Even Andy Grammer said, most days I woke up, that famous singer, most days I wake up with a little bit of a tummy ache. I'm a little uneasy. But that shows me that I'm pushing myself a little bit out of my comfort zone. That's how I should be living. If I'm waking up perfectly like unmotivated, relaxed, that's actually not the way I want to live. I want to live like pushing myself a little bit so that anxiety can actually be your friend. That's where I've really retrained myself too. I used to think that any anxiety was bad. Now I'm like, anxiety is fine. It's my friend. Come along. I'll take your hand, anxiety. You and me. Let's go.
That's a great point. So some certain anxiety we can put to advantage and use it as a motivation. And also it could be, instead of saying, oh, that's a negative thing, it could be a sign that you're growing in anything new that you haven't done before. It will give you that challenge, that anxiety, and that's okay. That's letting you know that you're doing something you haven't done before, and you're a little anxious. That you're growing. Growing comes with some growing pains.
Yeah, for sure. And then the extreme perfectionism anxiety combination is this where you get stuck, and that's where you literally just force yourself to take any kind of action. Like me telling my friend, slap some paint on that canvas. I don't care what color, I don't care how it looks, just start doing it.
It brings me back to when I wanted to do podcasting for 1.5 years now, and I'm like, I didn't know which direction to take. It's very difficult for multi-passionate people because I can take it so many directions, and then you feel stuck. Well, 1.5 years later, I finally said, I'm just going to do it.
That's exactly the key. And it's not going to be perfect, and people are going to love you even more for being unperfect. Because like I just let it all hang out there. Like I am not perfect, and everybody knows it. And that makes me more relatable, and it makes their goals more attainable. Because if me, the unperfect average person out there who's 55-year-old average looking woman can get out there and do this, you can too.
Yeah. Maybe a little above average. I thought I'll stick that in there. Well, so does the paintings. The work of art is always subjective. It's in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, you made me cry and you made me laugh, and this is what it's all about. I cried to the point that my husband had to bring me the tissues. Now we're laughing our heads off. This is real conversation, people. We cry, we laugh, we learn from each other.
And we don't hold back. And now we just like let it rip.
What's next for above average looking 54 years old? She is brave, CEO and host. What's next?
What's next? Oh yeah, lots of stuff, because I've got my new class coming up in February, and then I have this supportive podcasting Facebook group. If you're even just thinking about podcasting and just kind of want to get a little taste of that world, you can just be a part of the group for $5 a month and kind of just test the waters a little. And then if you feel like it, take the class, or just, that kind of stuff. And then now I'm realizing that all the things I learned in my second 6 months of podcasting were huge as well. And they were things that you can't really introduce to people in the first 6 months, because there's only so much information that you can absorb and learn. And it's a lot, as we both know, in podcasting in the first 6 months. And so in the second 6 months, there's a shift in your focus and how you do things. And so I'm realizing I need to build another class.
So
here we go.
Beginning, more like beginning in advance. Beginning class.
Yeah, so like I'm gonna teach the first 6 months again in mid-February.
Okay.
I'm gonna, it'll be more polished and refined and more information, and people
Are you saying more perfect?
Well, not more perfect. Nothing. I think everything is always a work in progress, which is beautiful. Like, why not? Like there is no end to making things better, right? Like, that's what's so fun about podcasting. You just keep making it better, like it for forever. And then, but then after that, I think I'm gonna do. After that class is over, I think I'm going to offer the second 6 months of podcasting for those who have, kind of gotten their feet. They're feeling grounded and solid in the basics, but they're ready to really grow it, to take off. And there's things that, again, by experimentation, that again, as I experimented, I just grew more and more bold about experimenting. Well, let's just try this. Let's just try that. Let's stick our finger over here, see what happens. And you just kind of keep doing stuff. And some of the spaghetti sticks to the wall, and you're like, oh my gosh, I never thought that thing would work, but it did.
It sticks, do it. It doesn't, just throw it away. Try something else.
Yeah. So I think that's going to be, my next project. Yeah. But I've got all kinds of ideas in the hopper. Oh yeah.
And I am so passionate now about doing podcasting, and motivated and inspired by Kristina, that I volunteered to bring a different flavor to her class and volunteer.
Yes.
And
you're very, very positive. You're very loving. You're very motivating. Encouraging. And I think that you would add a lot to my class. You've been through my first class. You bring that experience. You can help improve the class. And I think it's going to be fantastic.
The learning curve has just been crazy. I remember having the first conversation with you, and I'm like, I feel lost. Where do I begin?
Yeah.
And
now you can turn around and help me by telling your story to the people in the next class too. Look, I felt this way too. And look where I am now,
And
it's normal.
There are a lot of classes on podcasting, but I think kind of maybe a little disadvantage there. They're too big. And you don't get that.
I agree with that too. And that's that's something that I realized. That's part of why I created the class, is that I took the class that I had taken, and there were certain things that I didn't like, which is fine. Like, there's always going to be things you don't like about whatever course you take. And I said, well, if I did it, I would do it this way. Like, I would keep it smaller. I would keep like a better, face-to-face personal connection, a little more hand holding, a little more like direct technical support, that kind of thing. And that can only be done with a smaller group. And it's very, very effective for sure. Yeah.
There's a couple of things that I wrote down as we talked about almost as a key takeaways. No attachment to outcomes. That stood out for me. Number 2, no, it's just not right now. Just keep asking until you get a yes. Also I have determination. You must be determined, and combining determination with thinking outside of the box. There's those are big key takeaways for me. And is there anything else you want to add as key takeaways, or anything I didn't ask you that you want listeners to hear?
Yeah, I just want listeners to know how to find me. So the best place to find me is on Instagram at She's Brave Podcast. Also, if you are just wanting to know more about me and or interested in signing up for my next class, you can find me at www.shesbravepodcast.com. The class is currently closed, but I have a class, or I mean, I have a private Facebook group that's opening up again for podcasters, and it's called Podcast Mastery, your 6-month journey to the top 2.5% global elite. That will be opening again in January, and it's $5 a month. So
Worth every penny. This is
worth
so
every penny. Worth every penny. So yeah, that's, and you can always reach out to me. On Instagram is probably the best place through messaging. And I'll always get back to you, as you know, Jeannie, because I always get back to you. I'm always like,
Yes.
hi, Jeannie.
Yes.
When you have
I was I appreciate you calling me back, because I was like, I'm like, it's very difficult when you're trying to start something new. You have to make certain decisions right away. And Kristina said, I'll call you in a couple of hours. And she actually got on the phone with me. Made me feel better. You get those moments when you start something new. You need someone to reach out and say, hey, I really want to make the decision and I don't know which way to go.
So true. So true. Yeah.
And then is that the right or wrong decision? We still don't know. But knowing that you have someone that already been through the journey, you'll get their opinion. And by having that opinion, that alleviate that anxiety, you say, okay, we'll just go with that.
We'll just go with that. And then I'm always really assuring about. And if it doesn't work, we try this other
something
thing
else.
over here. It's fine,
Oh yeah, another key takeaways is exploring. What reminded me what you just said. Exploring new possibility, trying new things, and then like you said, the first 6 months you may or may not be able to try as many things, but it's any journey. It's not just podcasting, because you have to take a baby step. You have to set your system right. You have to be comfortable of doing interviews. You want to figure out the direction of your show. I'm still trying to figure out. I'm so early.
And not comparing yourself to any other people in your class. I had to literally kind of tune everybody out. Like I had some buddies who we'd call and support each other. But as far as like following how many, some people would be like, well, I've had this many downloads or I've had this many interviews. I just tuned that. I didn't actually, go in and read all that stuff because we're all unique. Some of us, it's going to be shorter than 6 months. Some of us, it's going to be longer than 6 months. It doesn't matter. We all take our own time to blossom at exactly the right time.
Mm-hmm. And we'll know, as long as you have the confidence in knowing that the right direction will open on its path. You have to be in the motion.
Yeah.
You have to keep rolling, keep going down the road, one step at a time, one more interview, and it's like you will kind of get a sense where it's leading you. But if you're not in the game being keep taking steps every single day,
taking steps,
and those steps doesn't have to be huge.
They can be teeny tiny. They literally can be teeny tiny.
Then you look back and say, wow, what if I haven't done those teeny tiny steps?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't be where you're at. So every action, you will see the reaction. And the reaction is you're going to learn something new. You're going to know, okay, well, which way do I go? Do I go left or do I go right? Well, do I want to talk with this person? Maybe not. It doesn't sound right. Do I want to collaborate with this particular? Yeah, that's amazing. We had such an amazing conversation about you. That person can refer me to somebody else because we feel aligned.
Yeah.
And the only way to know is to just keep going and take that one brave step after another.
Yeah. And making lots of mistakes along the way. Tons of mistakes, and being okay with it.
And not expect perfection every day. Heck, I didn't expect I'll start crying in the middle of an interview. Thanks, Kristina.
It's fine. Everybody cries during some interviews. We all do. It's happened to me too.
I do have to say this has been the most amazing and emotional interview. So you guys had the pleasure of seeing a different side of me, and I think I was a lot more vulnerable than I like to show people, but that's how I was growing up.
Yep.
I was growing up to be strong.
Vulnerable. Yeah, when you're vulnerable, you give people permission for them to be vulnerable, and then everybody's better for it.
I hope you guys learned a lot. There's a lot of wisdom in this conversation. I am so excited that I was able to spend time with Kristina and bring that wisdom, experience, insights, and to keep learning, keep your journey going. It's enlightening and passion going. You don't know what the journey can bring you. Be open to the journey.
Yeah.
Be excited about uncertainty, because you don't know what's on the other side.
Absolutely. And even with podcasting, there's people that take podcasting the course and then they end up becoming a public speaker instead, or they decide that they love the technical side. You can make tons of money by just doing technical stuff for people. That's not even that hard. You know, some people decide they just want to do coaching. Oh, wow, like I'm actually really liking this coaching thing, so I'm going to do that. So it can lead to so many fun things, you know?
I thank you so much for your time and bringing your expertise and experience, and I can't wait for more collaboration.
Yeah.
The sky is the limit, and I want to thank I want to thank audience for joining us today and experience every emotion that we had today. The tears of sadness, the excitement of the future, and the laughing of every experience, whether it was good or bad. We're here with you, and we really want you to enjoy and catch the journey with us, whether listening our interviews or joining us on podcasts. If you have to share the important stories, which everyone have an important story. Thank you, Kristina, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed our conversation with Kristina. A collage of feelings, moments that make you happy, and times that might bring a tear to your eyes. As Kristina shared stories of courage, joy, and some of life's tough moments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share your thoughts below, and keep the conversation alive. See you!